For this session, we will be having quartiles of group data. Now, to begin with, let's have the formula first. So this will be the formula for the quartile of group data. So you have here the symbol for the quartile over here. L is simply the lower boundary of the class that contains the quartile we are looking for. Now take note, when you solve the quartile, it's similar with how you solve the median. But take note, the formula here is different. It's kn over 4. In your median, it's only n over 2. So k here is simply any value from 1, 2, and 3, because we will be solving the first quartile, the second quartile, and the third quartile. We will be solving only 3 quartiles in every set of data that we will have. Okay? Now, the n here is the total frequency. The CF here is simply the cumulative frequency of the lower class, that which precedes the class containing the quartile we are looking for. Now, it's simply the cumulative frequency before the quartile class. Okay? F is the frequency of the class where the quartile is located. And I is simply the class size. So you already know all those things because we already had that when we had the discussion about the median of group data. Now, let's begin with our first example. So this is our data here, and we will be solving the first quartile, the second quartile, and the third quartile. You already know what this data means. These are scores of students in a math test. These are the number of students who got a score of kanasaya. Okay, now let's begin with step number 1. So step number 1, you add one column to the left of the FDT rather, for the class boundaries, and then another column for the cumulative frequency, just like what we did over the median. Add a column for the class boundaries, add a column for the CF. Next, step number 2, fill in the class boundaries. So you already know this. You will be subtracting 0.5 over these numbers. That's the lower boundary. Add 0.5 over these numbers to get the upper boundary. So take note, the numbers I have encircled, these are what you call your lower limits. Okay? The numbers I have enclosed inside a rectangle, these are the upper limits. So take note, the lower boundary is simply subtracting 0.5 from the lower limit. The upper boundary is simply adding 0.5 to the upper limit. Okay? So these are the class boundaries now. So take note of those values. You already know how to get those values. Okay? Now, let's continue. Let's fill in the cumulative frequency column, the CF column. So, how do you go about the CF column again? Section Ruby? Unsaon to pag-fill sa CF column? You start with 3. Okay, start with 3. Next. I-plus sa?
Ang 306.
Okay, to get?
9.
9. Next is?
I-plus sa 6.
Okay, that's 15. Sorry. Next is?
18.
18, correct. Next is?
20.
So you have 18 and you have 20. Next would be?
24.
24. Next to 24 is?
27.
27. Next to 27 is?
30.
30. Okay. So, take note, 30 also tells you that the number of the total frequency is simply 30. That's your N. Now, Let's proceed to step number 4. Locate the class where the Q sub K is located. In this case, we will be solving the first quartile first. So we will be locating the first quartile using this formula. Kn over 4. So using this formula, what is the value of K here? The value of
1.
K is 1, okay. What about the value of N?
30.
30. Okay, using the formula Kn over 4, so you will be having 1 times 30 divided by 4, you'll get 7.5. So just like in our median, locate 7.5 in the CF column. Look for the first number that is greater than 7.5. What number is that? Number 9. So therefore, this will be our first quartile. This is the first quartile, the location of the first quartile. So let's now identify the lower limit, the L. What's the lower limit equal to?
15.5.
Okay,
sir.
that's 15.5. So what about the CF? What is the CF equal to?
3, sir.
It's simply the CF before the quartile class. That's 3. What about the F?
6.
The frequency of the class containing the first quartile, that would be 6. Okay. What about the I? What about the I? The I is...
5.
Okay, that's 46 minus 41. That's 5. So substituting everything in our formula, that now becomes the first quartile, the lower limit, the lower boundary, I mean, that's 15.5. This one, Kn over 4, we have solved that already. That's 7.5. Minus 3, the CF, over F, the 6, times the interval or the class size 5. So subtracting 7.5 and 3, you have 4.5. So 4.5 times 5 divided by 6. How much do you get using your calculator?
3.75, sir.
3.75 plus 15.5, how much is that?
19.5.
19.25. So this is the value of the first quartile. Okay? Now, let's use the same data, but this time, we will be solving for the second quartile. So, what's the value of K here? The value of K is 2. The value of N is 30. So, using the formula Kn over 4, you will have 2 times 30 divided by 4 over here. That's equal to 15. Now, what is the first number in the CF column that is greater than or equal to 15?
15, sir.
15. So, this is the location of the second quartile. Now, let's identify everything now. What is the value of the lower boundary?
20.5.
20.5. What about the value of the CF?
9, sir.
9 ang value of CF. What about the frequency of the class containing the second quartile? The F.
6.
That would be 6. Okay. What about the class size? The I.
5, sir.
That's 46 minus 41. That will give you 5. So, substituting everything to the formula, it will give you this. So, take note, this Kn over 4 is simply equal to 15. So, 15 minus 9, that will give you 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1 times 5. That's 5 plus 20.5. It will give you an answer of 25.5. So this will be our second quartile. Now let's go to the third quartile. So we are now having K is equal to 3 and N is equal to 30. So using Kn over 4, you will have 3 times 30 divided by 4, you will have 22.5. So locate 22.5 in the CF column. What is the number for the CF na 22.5?
24, sir.
24. So this will be the location of our third quartile. Okay? So let's identify everything now. So what is the lower boundary? 35.5 is the lower boundary. What about the CF?
20.
20 ang CF. So take note, the CF is the CF before the class containing the third quartile in this case. What about the F?
4.
That will give us 4. What about the class interval? It's still the same. It's still 5. 46 minus 41, that will give you 5. And take note, Kn over 4 is 22.5. So substituting everything to the formula, then subtracting these two, you will get 2.5. 2.5 times 5 divided by 4 is how much? 3.125 plus 35.5 is how much? 38.625. Or you can round this off. This is 38.63. Okay? So this is now the value of our third quartile. Now, let's proceed to another set of data. So we have here another set of data. Let's compute quartile 1. But before having that, let's solve CF first. So what will be the first thing that you're going to write over the CF? The number?
3.
3. Next to number 3, down. What should be written below?
9,
Okay,
sir.
3 plus 6 is 9. Next is?
14.
9 plus 5 is 14. That's correct. Next?
1B.
Okay, 14 plus 6 is 20. Next is?
28.
28. And lastly, you'll get 28
30.
plus 2. That's 30. So take note, the value of K is 1 and the value of N is 30. So using the formula Kn over 4, that will give us 1 times 30 divided by 4. That's 7.5. Now, where is the CF that contains 7.5?
9,
The
sir.
number 9. So take note, look over the CF column. Look for a number that is the first number that is greater than or equal to 7.5. That is 9. So this is our location of the first quartile. So what is the value of L?
54.5,
Okay,
sir.
you will get 54.5 by simply using 55 there, the lower limit, subtracting 0.5 to get the lower boundary. That's 54.5. What about the CF? What's the value of the CF?
3, sir.
The value of CF is 3. What about the value of F?
6.
6. That's totally right. So what about the value of I?
5, sir.
The value of, okay, that's correct. Now, substituting everything to the formula, you will have this. This is the lower boundary. This is Kn over 4 minus CF over 6 times 5. So, subtracting 7.5 and 3, you will have 4.5. So, what is 4.5 times 5 divided by 6?
3.75.
3.75 plus 54.5 is how much?
58.25.
58.25. So this is the value of the first quartile. Okay, let's go to the second quartile now. So it's the same. The CF will be the same as our previous table. But this time, the value of K is 2. Still, N is equal to 30. So, using Kn over 4, you'll have 2 times 30 divided by 4. That's 15. So, what is the first number in the CF that is greater than or equal to 15?
20, sir.
20. So, therefore, this is the class that contains the second quartile. So what is the value of the letter L, the lower boundary, using the number 65?
64.5,
64.5.
sir.
Subtract 0.5 there. What about the value of the CF?
14.
14 ang value sa CF. What about the value of F?
6, sir.
6. Okay. Now, the interval is still the same. That's 75 minus 70. You'll get 5 for that. So, substituting everything in our formula, we will have that. 64 plus 15 minus 14 divided by 6 times 5. So, subtracting 15 and 14, you'll get 1. 1 times 5 divided by 6 is how much? In 2 decimal places.
0.83.
0.83 plus 64.5. That will give us
65.33.
65.33. That's totally correct. Okay, so that's the second quartile. Let's go to the third quartile now. It's the same CF 3, 9, 14, 20, 28, and 30. But the value of K is 3. And you have an N that is 30. Still the same. But using the formula Kn over 4, the result now is 22.5. So what is the first number there in the CF column that is greater than or equal to 22.5?
28.
28. So this will tell you that the location of quartile 3 is here. Okay? So what is the value of L using the lower limit 70?
69.5.
That's 70 minus 0.5, 69.5. Correct. What about the value of CF?
20.
20. Okay. We are done with this already. What about the value of F?
8, sir.
8. What about the value of I? It's still the same. We have 55 minus 50. You'll get 5 for that. So substituting everything to our formula, you will have that. So what is 22 minus 20? You'll have 2.5. 2.5 times 5 divided by 8 is how much?
$1.5625, sir.
Okay, plus 69.5.
71.0625, sir.
Or you can round this off to 71.06. It's either of the two. Okay? So our third quartile will be 71.0625 or 71.06. So let's have more. Last example. Set of data. Last set of data we will be solving for the first, second, third, and third quartile, I mean. So using this table, what is the CF? That's 2. Next, written below 2 is what should be written below number 2?
9, sir.
9. After 9, what's 9 plus 14?
23, sir.
Okay, 23 plus 8.
31.
31 plus 8.
39.
39 plus 1.
40.
That's 40. So the value of K is, sorry. The value of K is 1. The value of N is 40. So we will be using the formula Kn over 4. So our K is 1. Our N is 40 divided by 4. This will give us how much?
10.
10. So what is the first number in the CF column that is greater than 10?
23, sir.
So this is now the class that contains the first quartile. So let's solve the L. The L, making use of 26, what is the value of L?
25.5.
25.5. Correct. What about the CF? What's the value of the CF?
9, sir.
9 ang CF. What about the value of F?
14.
14 CF. And the I?
5, sir.
So that's I is equal to 5. So making use of the formula, the lower boundary is 25.5 plus, what is Kn over 4? That is 10 minus the CF is 9 over the F, that's 14 times the I is 5. So we have 25.5 plus, this is 1 over 14 divided by 5. So what's 1 times 5 divided by 14?
0.36.
0.36. That's 1 times 5 divided by 14. Now what is 25.5 plus 0.36?
25.86, sir.
Sorry, this is 25.86. So this will be the value of the first quartile. Okay? Now let's proceed to the second quartile. It's totally the same. So you have 2, 9, 23, 31, 39, and 40. So this is now the value of K. This is the value of N. So we have Kn over 4. You have there 2 times 40 divided by 4. How much is this?
20, sir.
20. So what's the first number in the CF that is greater than 20?
40.
Again, what's the first number in the CF column that is greater than 20?
23, sir.
23. Have you noticed, di ba atong answer ganiha, it's also 23? Ganiha?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but we will have different answers. Why? Because Kn over 4 ganiha was 10. Our Kn over 4 now is 20. So we will have a different answer on this. But take note, they share the same class location. So the location of quartile number 2 is this. This was also the location of quartile 1 a while ago. But our Kn over 4 is different now. So we will have the same L, that's 25.5. Our CF, that is 9. Our F, that is 14. And our interval, or class size, that is 5. So substituting everything to our formula to solve quartile 2, you'll have 25.5 plus, this is now 20 minus 9 all over 14 times 5. So we have 25.5 plus, this is 11 over 14 times 5. So what is 11 times 5 divided by 14?
3.93, sir.
3.93. 3.93 plus 25.5.
29.43.
29.43. So this will be the second quartile for this data. Okay, let's have the last one. The third quartile. So the same CF, 2, 9, 23, 31, 39, and 40. But this time, the value of K is 3. This is our N. So we will have, sorry for that, I'm not going to end that yet, Kn over 4. So the value of K is 3 times 4 divided by 4. Oh, how much is this? 3 times 40 divided by 4?
30, sir.
30. Now, which CF does 30 belong to? What's
31.
the 31? Correct. So we have, this will be the class that contains quartile 3. So using this class, this is now the value of L. What's the value of L? Minus point.
30.5,
Okay,
sir.
minus 0.5. That's 30.5. What about the value of the CF?
23.
23. The value of F?
8.
8. And the interval, it's still the same. It's still 5. So substituting everything to our formula, you will have 30.5 plus this is equal to 30 minus the CF, that's 23, divided by the F, that's 8, times the class interval 5. So let's subtract 30 and 23. You will get 7. So what is 7 times 5 divided by 8? 7 times 5 divided by 8.
4.375, sir.
Again, 4.375. Is this correct? Plus 30.5.
34.875, sir.
Okay, or you can have 34.88. This will be the value of the third